Hello, I'm Pariksith Singh, MD, and I have the distinct pleasure of having Sri Partho with me to discuss what I believe is one of the most important books of this century. This is Sanatan Dharma. This is my opinion that this is a book that should be read by every youngster interested in India, in what dharma means, in what being a Hindu means, or being even a human means. This is Sanatan Dharma, The Quest for Truth, the book I've been waiting for. And I must say that I've read it probably 10 times, and now I'm waiting for the book to come after. But before we go to the hereafter, let's come to the present, the now, sir, the now. What is Sanatan Dharma?
I've just written a book on it.
I know, but I'm sure you didn't read it, so maybe we can get your opinions on what Sanatan Dharma means.
Okay. That's a serious question.
Yes.
Whew. So, how does one say this? It took me many pages to start even explaining what it is, because in trying to write what it is, I found that I have to write so much on what it is not. So, it is not religion, though there is a lot of religion in it. It is not philosophy, though again there's a lot of philosophy in it. To my mind, it is the truth of being, the truth of the universe, the truth of who and what we are, in manifestation, in action. So, Sanatana, of course, is eternal, and it refers to dharma. So the important question is, what is dharma? And why is it called eternal? Why is it eternal? So if we take this dharma to be the very order of the universe, in fact, even there, I'm not satisfied with the phrase order of the universe. It is the order that has become the universe. In the sense that when you're looking at the universe, so let's say you're looking from the outside of the universe, the thought experiment, what you see is an order, a manifest order, a manifest organization, a manifest harmony, which you can see as the universe. From its most rudimentary beginnings in pure energy and matter, energy matter, to the heights of super consciousness, heights of self-consciousness. The whole span is a continuity, is a pattern or a meta pattern, is an inherent order. Again, inherent doesn't make sense because it is the order. And being the order which manifests as this universe, as this visible, tangible, livable universe, it is obviously beyond space and time. So it is therefore eternal. Eternal, again, something that makes sense only with reference to time. But here we are talking about an order which encompasses time itself. It is itself beyond time. And time is we can call time a sub-order of this meta-order that is the universe. So this universe itself as order, as manifest harmony and order, is dharma. The Sanskrit word dharma itself, it means several things, as I've mentioned in the book, but the root meaning of it that I have used here is to hold, to hold and to bear. Because holding and bearing are the important things of any manifestation. A thing can manifest only when it's held together, but held together by what? It's held together by a principle or a force or a principal force, or what Sri Aurobindo called a truth force, which is the very soul of that thing. You take that away, and the thing, whatever that thing is, falls apart. For instance, an atom. It's held together by certain forces, certain subnucleic forces. If you take them away, you don't have anything called the atom. So whether a cosmic thing, or like an atom, or living thing like a human being, or highly conscious being like Maharishi, everyone and everything is held together by that truth, force, and principle, which you may call it it's the essence, and that is what dharma is. So dharma is at once this universe and that which holds this universe together as it makes it organized and coherent. What holds it together is a coherent entity, and not just the universe, but all things and beings in the universe. So it's difficult to both explain and understand dharma.
So let's try to get it in a simple way, even if we tend to become simplistic. That which holds things together is dharma.
Yes. In a very simple way.
In a very
yes.
simple.
Yes.
So what holds me together is my dharma.
Yes.
What holds you together is your dharma.
Yes.
But it sounds like a very mystical concept. How can I know this? This seems too abstract. Someone asks me what is Sanatan Dharma, and I say Sanatan is that which is eternal, and Dharma is that which holds you together.
So say all right, Sanatan Dharma is itself a bit of a misnomer. You don't need to, not a misnomer, I would say a redundancy. You don't need to say Sanatan Dharma. You just need to say Dharma. Dharma is Sanatan.
Right.
So why is Dharma Sanatan? Because Dharma is the only thing that is. It is not just holding the universe. It is becoming the universe. It is the very order that you see as the universe, that you experience in the universe. Right. So yes, it is mystical at one plane, but at another it's very scientific. It's physicists will very easily understand it. That one thing that holds this universe together, they will probably call it the grand unified force. So, but anyone who knows the scientific structure of the universe will know that you cannot have this structure without something holding this.
But is there a scientific structure to the universe? If you go to quantum physics,
so quantum physics is one way of looking at the universe. So that's quantum physics. So there's cosmic physics, let's say, looking at the universe cosmically and looking at the universe from the quantum perspective. And both are needed to understand what it is. And it's not that the two are separate again.
right?
One is in the other. One is the other. So is there a structure of the universe? Interesting question. Yes, there is, because what you're looking at, the matter that you're looking at, you and I know it's not matter, as we know. It's not solid matter. It finally, since you've already mentioned quantum physics, so finally at the quantum level, it's just quantum states.
Right.
No. But then we don't know what quantum states are.
Right.
No one knows what quantum states are. One can only feel, even at the extremely subtle level at which this whole thing is being studied as of now. We just know quantum fields from its effects, its quantum fluctuations, its quantum gravity effects. But no one has been able to explain what the quantum state is and how quantum gravity exactly happens. We don't know, but we do know that everything that appears to us as the universe and all things in it. An atom also, as you know, it appears to us as an atom. It's not really there. So if we keep going to the heart of the matter, we'll find that everything is held by something yet subtler. So matter as we can feel it, solid matter, is held by molecular forces, which are subtle, far subtle compared to solid matter. But when you go into the molecules, to the molecular level of existence, then you find that there's something still subtler than the molecular that holds molecules together, which is atomic. And then same thing happens with the atomic, as we know. So on and so forth till you get to the quantum. But then there's something that's holding the quantum together. And we know that because at the quantum level, there is no space-time. So it's not space-time then that's holding quantum together. And if there's no space-time, then you don't have energy, you don't have matter, you don't have energy, you don't have electromagnetic forces, you don't have weak forces, you don't have any kind of force to hold it together. Then what then is holding this universe together at the quantum level is a question. The same way, if you go the other way, from look at it from the cosmic level, again, you don't see things separate. And at the cosmic level, I mean, we see things separate only because we are looking at it from only the very narrow visible band of light, and also the band that makes our sensorial experience of the universe possible. But from a cosmic perspective, let's say, you are not looking at things, you're looking at one vast undivided whole. And I'm talking physics here, not Vedanta. What you're looking at is one enormously vast, I wouldn't say infinite, but enormously vast whole that appears to manifest as this and that, and that and this. But the moment you go deep into this and that, you come back to this whole, which has no essential structure of its own, yet is bearing and supporting all structures.
Would you call it a singularity?
No,
the term
but
that is used,
that can be taken back to singularity. So,
right.
so if you were to look at this thing and where is it coming from, this universe? If you go back to the thought experiment that you're outside the universe looking at the universe, so you keep, as scientists do, you keep tracing back the universe to a supposed point of beginning. And mind you, you're doing all this in time.
Right.
So then you get to a hypothetical time zero, or mathematical time zero, not hypothetical, mathematical time zero, which would probably be the singularity the physicists are talking about. This is the singularity where space and time are both zero, and then something happens, and then you have time and you have space. But the moment you talk about a quantum reality or a cosmic reality, time itself disappears both ways. Quantum reality, there's no time. Cosmic reality, there's no time. Time is a function happening within the cosmic reality. So the moment you come to a perspective where there is no time, then time zero itself becomes meaningless. So if time zero becomes meaningless, then there is no such thing as singularity separate from the universe. Then the universe is the singularity. Where I've mentioned it here too, that like the tree that you're looking at is the seed.
Right.
It's the seed that has become the tree, which has not ceased to be the seed. So there's no way you can call it, now it's a tree, it's no longer a seed. That's our mental way of saying. So singularity is the universe. The beginning of the universe is the middle and the end of the universe. Everything is all one single nondescript reality, a single absolute whole which cannot be described by any of its terms that you find within it, so-called constituting, but they don't even constitute this whole. Each part that is supposedly constituting the whole is itself the whole. Again, deeper, if you go into it,
Right.
The deeper you go into any part, you don't see parts anymore. It's again the whole. So what is all this that's happening? What's holding all this together, and what's becoming all this, and what is the subtle principle behind it all? So the deeper you go into these questions, the more you keep coming to that one thing without which nothing else is. And that's what our rishis called dharma.
Why is it so important to talk about it? We are busy, we have a lot of technological changes coming. Mankind, they say, is moving to a new kind of singularity. Is it really important to discuss dharma? Do you feel there's a
Yes.
need for it
Now,
now?
more than ever before. Now is the time when we need to talk about dharma. Because for the first time, we have a real and immediate danger of the other singularity, the technological singularity. And things are happening a lot faster than we imagined they would, and we are already, I mean, it's just taken less than 5 months, less than a half a year from the first most rudimentary AI to the fourth or fifth version right now, the fifth version of AI, OpenAI. And it's already beginning to transform the way we interact with data, the way we interact with information, the way we teach and learn, the way we do research. So many things. I mean, it's already being transformed right under our very noses. And this is in less than a year. And even before people have begun to really understand what this beast called AI is, including its founder, uh, we we are already very concretely talking about AGI, which is that much more intelligent than AI. AI is narrow intelligence. That is narrow AI. That's general AI, artificial general intelligence. And even before we can sort of try to grasp that, I mean, I'm still grappling with artificial intelligence. Here you're talking about artificial general intelligence, which is uh, at the minimal 10x AI. People are already, there are serious thinkers who are already working out the technology of, they call it ASI, artificial super intelligence. And what they're saying, and what frightens me, is the fact that the process is already irreversible. The genie is out of the bag, out of the bottle. Uh, and if the genie is out of the bottle, you can't put it back in. So you can't say that, no, wait, hold on, I'm not ready for it. Let's roll back. You can't. So before you know it, singularity will be there. And I'm talking about singularity in its ultimate sense of, singularity has two implications. One is the machines take over all human functions, except the ones they can't take over. And the other is they take for complete control of human destiny. They take control of human beings and probably, and this will sound like the worst sci-fi scenario, end up destroying human beings because human beings are no longer needed. And they won't do it out of any sort of evil. Machines are not evil. They're algorithms. And now, as soon as we get to AGI, then we are not even talking about algorithms. We're talking about quantum computing. So, which will be an entirely different ballgame. So, what I'm trying to say is before we are ready for it intellectually or emotionally or spiritually, we would have already crossed the singularity point.
So
then what happens?
yes.
If we don't look at these things happening right now, we are lost as a species. We will become machines. So when do we talk about Sanatan Dharma then? And when I talk about this to my younger friends, they sound somewhat skeptical when they said that really, is this what's going to happen? So then I have to tell them this is not what's going to happen. This is what's happening. If you look carefully at what is happening today, you'll already see all of this happening. The extreme cases of singularity are already happening now. You just have to extrapolate.
So how is dharma going to help us with this technological singularity?
So dharma is the direct pathway to the spiritual. Now, when I say spiritual again, and this is very important in terms of Sanatan Dharma, I do not mean religious spirituality, where you talk about a god and a super conscious being and human destiny and death and what happens after death, and all that's a very small part of spirituality. Spirituality is the essence of our cosmic existence. Spirituality is the science behind our cosmic existence. It's the grand unified field. It's the theory of everything. When I say theory, I'm using the science term. It's the truth of everything, we would say. So spirituality is not sitting in front of a god or becoming a god believer or anything like that. Spirituality is approaching, accessing, understanding, and living the truth of our cosmic existence in cosmic terms. So what is behind this personality? Who am I? What am I? If I go behind my material and psychological makeup, what lies behind it all? So when I actually begin to access those realms, which are hitherto veiled from me, but when I start accessing those hidden occult realms, they call it, we go more and more into the subtle and the invisible. What does that mean, subtle and the invisible? That we are beginning to move beyond the visible universe, the tangible universe, which are entirely sense constructs. The universe as I see it and experience it are entirely sense constructs. Shut off my senses, and this universe as I know it and see it and feel it disappears. Take me out of the visible range of light, the visible spectrum, the visible band in the electromagnetic spectrum that I call light as I see it. I don't see the universe anymore. Take me out of the audible range, I don't hear the universe anymore. Take me out of the tangible range, I don't feel the universe anymore. All solidity is disappeared. So the universe as I know it is a sense construct. So this is what our Maharishis used to say, that the universe is only in your mind. It's all in the mind. It's a projection of your mind. Now, projection doesn't mean like you sit down and you project it like you project a movie onto a screen. Projection simply means that you are perceiving what your brain and your mind brain have been conditioned by evolution to perceive. So it's not that the universe is really there. I'm perceiving the universe because by evolution, I am hardwired to perceive the universe as I do. But if I start moving beyond what I'm hardwired to perceive, what I'm conditioned biochemically to perceive, and then psychologically to perceive, then I start entering the invisible and the subtle, which is another universe altogether. That too is a universe, but it's a different dimension. And as I mentioned in the book, it's like an ant crawling upon a table in its two-dimensional world. It knows only length and breadth. The ant doesn't know height. So if you were to pick up the ant like that, whoa, it would see an entirely different universe, and it probably will go nuts. The ant will go nuts. It won't be able to take that because suddenly it's a three-dimensional universe. Now imagine, we human beings are living in a three-dimensional. Einstein told us we are living in a four-dimensional universe, but we can't grasp the fourth because time is too subtle for us to grasp. But the moment you start entering the realm of dharma, you're going beyond the four-dimensional universe that you know. So once that begins, artificial intelligence, all its orders of all the orders of artificial intelligence, this whole science and technology thing will suddenly not loom so large. There'll be everything will be what's the word? Will be ordered,
Appropriately assigned its
appropriately
value.
assigned. Perfect phrase. Thank you. Appropriately assigned its value of in existence. Nothing out of proportion, nothing exaggerated. Everything in its place.
So, to me, it sounds like when you talk about dharma, you're talking about a higher, greater, more consciousness, awareness, sensitivity about ourselves, about the world. Am I on the right track?
Yes, except that that's not how I would explain dharma. But those would, whatever you just mentioned, would be effects of moving into dharma.
How do you move into dharma?
How do you move into dharma?
Since technically we are always in dharma, aren't we?
Technically, we are dharma.
Right.
I mean, everything is dharma.
Right.
But we don't know it. Now, I have devoted quite a few pages in explaining this very complex thing that I am dharma, I am truth, or as our Rishi says, I am Brahman. But I don't know it. You don't know it. I don't know it. He doesn't know it. She doesn't know it. So how do we explain this then? If all this is X, then we have to know ourselves as X. We have to know it as X, but we don't know it. So that is where this, I mean, you can write a whole book on the concept of Maya and Adhyaropa. The entire book can be written on just that concept. Because everyone loses it here. That okay, fine, you're saying everything is that one truth, that one reality, ekam sat. I get it. But then I see so many other sets and so many other asets, opposites of truth. And I see so much happening, so many kinds of people, so many kinds of motivations and intentions and actions and reactions. How do you explain all this? And if you say there's only that one truth, you can't explain it so easily. As I said, we can write books on that, just on that one aspect. And how come I don't know what I am? Where am I missing it?
So if there's one thing I need to do to know about dharma, what do I need to do?
Is to know why you don't know dharma. Yeah. If there's one thing that I need to do to know that I am that one single truth, ekam sat, what am I to do? To know why I don't know that I am the Sat. That is the beginning of the journey. Now, of course, there will be one step before it. An indispensable first step would be to accept this first as the principle. It's very easy if you're a student of physics. You come to me for a physics class, and let's say the teacher of physics, and I tell you that, this entire universe is made of forces, energy. So you won't question me there that, I don't experience the force. I don't experience energy, which you do actually, and you won't question me. How do you know? You'll say, okay, prove it through your science, but you will go with me. You will walk with me. But when I tell you that all this is Brahma, all this is that one divine truth or one reality, which is divine, you won't accept it, as you would accept that all this is one single force. Unless I put it to you in that language. But then it won't be exact. I will have to say there's one divine reality. So that's the first step, to accept the principle. Many people say that, does that mean faith? Do I have to accept it on faith? Perhaps no. It's not a question of faith. Faith makes it religious. You have to accept it as a possibility. and then explore it and come to your conclusion. Now, this is very important and very interesting, both, because how do you accept a possibility when you don't know anything about it? That's why it's called a possibility. But how do you accept a possibility? So I say, so what you're looking at is solid matter. What you're experiencing, feeling, touching solid matter. There is a possibility that is not solid. Can you accept that? As a, well, this possibility solid matter is not solid. But the moment you've asked that question, you want to say, okay, let's find out what matter is then. So possibility thinking is what our yogis used to call it. Possibility thinking is not thinking bound by what you're immediately experiencing, by your immediate knowledge. Immediate knowledge is always bound, limited. And bound by what? Bound by our sensorial experience of the universe, and limited by the psychological experience of life, of the universe. And we accept these as that's it. So if someone comes along and tells you, yeah, fine, that's it. I'm not saying that's it, but possibly there's something beyond it. The moment you're open to that possibility thinking, your journey into Dharma begins. So our yogis are the teachers of Dharma, the Mahayogis, the Maharishis, used to say this very interestingly, that there are two kinds of intelligences, buddhis. One is the buddhi that accepts only immediate reality. They called it sthula buddhi. Why sthula? Because it's limited by what it sees and touches and feels and tastes and smells, eats and drinks and breathes. It's physical sensorial reality is bound by that. You can't go beyond it. So if I say that there's something beyond this, you say, no, give me a break. This is it. So that's the sthula. So sthula buddhi. And they say that there's another buddhi, sukshma, the subtle buddhi, the subtle intelligence, which is the beginning of all possibility thinking, whether it takes you to Dharma and Vedanta, or it takes you to physics and, even artificial intelligence, or whatever we have along the scientific, technological line. That possibility thinking, that is possible by Sukshma Buddhi, is the opening to the Dharma. So why does it not happen so often? Is because, as I have also mentioned in the book, that our education system doesn't work on the Sukshma Buddhi, because it doesn't know the Sukshma Buddhi. It doesn't believe in the Sukshma Buddhi.
Do you see a hope for mankind becoming aware of not being in Dharma, or human beings? I know this book you wrote so that people would
there is
begin.
hope, of course, and which is why there's a purpose behind this book, which is to actually my whole intention for writing this book was to open minds to possibility thinking. That maybe this is possible. Let's try. Let's explore. So yes, there is hope, but it's difficult. I say it's difficult because the sthula is very, very powerful. It is very dominant on this planet. Everything is covered by the gross, the sthula. And everything that we do, the more I look at people, at societies, politics, businesses, the more I see that everyone is limited by the immediate. What I feel right now, that's the reality. Like if I tell you, you're the best human being on earth, now you will immediately believe that, and your reality will be shaped immediately by that. He says, I'm the best human being. Then I'm good for you. I'm a good friend of yours now, because I've told you. So the immediate, but it's only the subtle mind. So why is he saying that? What does he know about me to say that I'm the best human being on earth? So I'm not saying this is skepticism, or many people may call it skepticism, but this is the urge to look beyond. the immediate, to hear beyond the immediate, to hear more than what you listen, to see more than what you see, to feel more than what you're feeling in the immediate. So that is the next step that I think collectively we all have to take, to see beyond what we see, to hear beyond what we hear, to feel beyond what we feel.
Is that equivalent to the ancient Kena Upanishad, finding out that which is hearing through your ears or seeing through your eyes or living through your life?
Yes, that's what you come to. Always. And that I call that the threshold of the Brahmic experience, because yes, I'm the immediate reality of human beings. I'm talking, I'm thinking, I'm talking. So it's me. But really, seriously, is it me? What is this me? Who's this me that is thinking? Who's the I that's talking? What is this I? The moment I ask these questions, what is this I? And I have to necessarily turn inward. Because if I ask who's this I, who's this me, I have to, okay, what's thinking in me? Oh, I'm thinking. Okay, fine. What is this I that's thinking? What is this I? Can this I think at all? Because if you look at it, you'll find that I is just a construct again. It's a mental construct. It's a useful device for language, internal or external. I can use I in my thoughts too. But if you look at the I, really want to see where this I is, you won't find it anywhere. It's almost like you either see it in movement, in momentum, or you see it in position. The moment you want to see it in position, fix it, it's gone. Because to fix the I means there is no thought happening. Thought is the momentum of I. So the moment you want to see the I, thought has ceased. The moment thought has ceased, I is gone. Where's the I gone? And the moment you look for the I is there again. So, there it is. I'm going to look at it. You look at it, but it's not there. So then, who's thinking and talking? So then, there are many who come up with the next explanation. It's the brain that is thinking and talking. It's the brain that has read and known and all that. It's the neurochemistry of the brain that's making possible all the neural connections, and creating these neural pathways. It's making thought possible, and then thought is articulating itself with speech. And so you have a very satisfactory explanation if you take the I away. It's the brain that's thinking. But that's the mechanical view of human beings. But then seriously, is it the brain thinking? What is the brain then? Then let's do a biochemical analysis of the brain. And then after that, let's do a molecular analysis of the brain. Let's do a quantum analysis of the brain. And you suddenly find even that disappears. There's nothing in the brain that can think, because if thinking was inherent in the brain, then the dead man would be thinking. The corpse would be thinking. It doesn't. And a fresh corpse, a person who's just died, everything is fresh, and the brain is still perhaps being read on the EEG. You can still see what activities, but it's not thinking anymore. It's not speaking anymore. So what's happened? What's gone? What was there? So the brain by itself cannot think, because if it could think, if thought was inherent to the brain, it would be thinking all the time. So the brain was somehow just appearing to be the instrument of thought. It was perhaps just like a radio, like the television set we have. It receives the waves and it shows the pictures, but the pictures are not inside the TV set, as children think. And they're all
Right.
sitting inside the TV set. And I know a kid who was convinced that and this is a fact, that his Tommy, the engine, was inside the TV set. And he would not believe it otherwise. I said, okay, we didn't do this actually. I said, if you open the TV, I'll open the TV set for you. You open the TV set and you don't see any Tommy inside. Yes, you just see only those machines, those things inside. Where's the engine? So if you open the brain in a similar way, he won't see any intelligence in it. So that's what I call possibility thinking, taking you beyond the visible and tangible universe into the invisible and the subtle, which is the realm of Sanatan Dharma.
So, the way I understand it is Dharma is a possibility for us to become more human because we are so mechanized, we are so uh, involved in the smartphones, digitized. Uh, our awareness is gone, our human sensitivity is gone. Is that one of the passages towards Dharma?
Yes.
Becoming.
And one of the effects of the Dharma.
And intelligence, you will become more intelligent, a subtler intelligence, not just a bookish intelligence. And that intelligence is able to see where artificial intelligence has an appropriate place and where it doesn't.
Yes. There's whole debate raging
Right. That
as we speak.
right.
That artificial intelligence is going to be sentient. In
Yes.
fact, the Google engineer, I don't remember his name, who said that
Right.
this machine wants to be sentient. It is sentient, he said.
Right. So that is one challenge.
No, the challenge is to understand what is sentience,
Right.
what is consciousness,
Right.
what is intelligence.
Right. But first you have to become intelligent to understand intelligence.
Yes.
Right. So this is the need of the hour, that we have to become intelligent.
In the subtle way.
In the subtle way.
Yeah.
And that is one of the processes or one of the pathways towards.
So there are people, in fact, I know a friend of mine who's writing a book on this at this moment. He said that, eventually AI will take over human intelligence. I said, yes, it will, but only the gross intelligence.
Right.
The moment you set foot on in the realm of the subtle intelligence, in the manner of speaking, the moment you can touch the subtle in you, the whole thing changes. Then what AI? So that kind of intelligence, and the first preliminary subtle intelligence, the first glimmers of subtle intelligence, and AI is instantly reduced to
a mouse.
Yeah, a mouse. That's a good one. Though
Please
what we are
appreciate the
talking about
pun.
is we probably won't have the mouse, but we'll have something similar to the mouse. People do this,
right?
All that. So if we are talking about AI and technology, technological singularity, we are all talking necessarily only of the gross intelligence.
Okay, so Dharma, AI. This is a challenge for humanity, which I think any sensitive, intelligent human being, doesn't matter what religion they belong to, should start looking at it and probing it, investigating it. What about another big challenge? I wouldn't say bigger, another big challenge before us, that of religion, or so-called religion, and a raging debate across the globe, especially in India. Hinduism versus Sanatan Dharma versus all kind of the religious challenges that we are facing right now.
And it's unfortunate, very unfortunate, because as I've labored to explain in the book, Sanatan Dharma is not a religion at all. And if one calls Hinduism a religion, and I myself have not actually used the word Hinduism anywhere, I've used it just to say that I don't believe in Hinduism. Hindu Dharma, yes, you can call it Hindu Dharma. But again, I've also explained in the book, Hindu Dharma by itself means nothing. Dharma is universal. It is human Dharma. Now, if you want to call it Hindu Dharma, that's your choice. But then if you make it an exclusive thing, Hindu Dharma, then it's going to be a problem. And that's what religion is doing to humanity, to the human race, because it's made everything into my religion and your religion. So if a thing is my religion and your religion, then it's not the truth in any case. I mean, again, think of the person who's watching the universe from the outside. Will he see different religions? Obviously not. He won't even see different human beings. He probably won't even see different life forms. He will see one reality. Probably infinite differentiations.
Right, but we are here. We're not outside the universe. We're here right now. And we
Yes.
have a raging problem
Mhm.
of
Yes,
mankind confusing spirituality
with
with a very rigid definition of religion, of how we have to approach ourselves and God.
yeah.
Uh, and we must talk about it.
Yes, I have written about it, and I feel it's time to talk. This is also the time to talk about such things. See, first, let's understand this very clearly. Religion is childish, and it suits that stage of human development, human evolution, which is childish or childlike, if you like the word better. Religion is what I call the necessity of the adolescent. So as long as the human species is passing through its adolescence, it needs its religions and its philosophies, and perhaps even its spiritualities. But sooner or later, we will blossom into adulthood. And when that happens, when human beings start becoming adults, grown-ups, I'm very sure they won't think in terms of religions or gods. They will think and talk only in terms of truth and degrees of truth. That is what science talks about. I mean, it's not that, relativistic physics makes Newtonian physics false. It doesn't. Otherwise, all our engineering would collapse. Newtonian physics is true. So is relativistic physics. So is quantum physics. So are all the physics that will come. People say once ASI comes, you don't need to do any more physics, or you won't invent anything else, etc. Whatever. But nothing is false. Everything is a certain stage of the development or evolution of truth. So, a grown-up humanity, a mature humanity, will think in terms of truth and its degrees, its stages. So, at this stage, this truth is fine. And if this kind of humanity wants this kind of truth, fine. Who are we going to disturb it? The equilibrium of nature. Let it be. But then there is a truth here, which is a higher order truth. And then there is a still higher order truth, and so on and so forth. And there's no end to these orders. You can go to the supramental order of truth, and as Sri Aurobindo himself said, there are still orders beyond, which still have not manifested. So, religion is a lower order truth, needed by an adolescent humanity. Let's understand that very clearly. The more we talk about this, the more this idea gets through to people. People need to understand.
But don't you see a greater rigidity happening?
Yes,
People
but adolescence,
entrenching
but
themselves.
isn't that what it's typically adolescent, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, it is a typical teenage behavior, and you don't punish the teenagers for behaving the way they do. I mean, that's how they are conditioned to behave. So probably the best thing you can give them is more education. But here we are not talking about generations. We're talking about an entire human species which is in that phase of adolescence. So those who are educating themselves adolescents, what will they educate?
Right.
And it's not just religion. This religious thinking is there in politics as well. I mean, what's the blight of politics today? It's religion again, religious thinking. And all the inequalities on this planet, all the injustices on this planet, everything stems from that one single source, that we are simply not mature enough to handle our own civilization. Our technology has got out of hand. We are not mature enough to handle our own technology, and we are already moving into artificial intelligence, and we are not even We have not even attained the maturity to deepen or subtleize our own intelligence, and we're already playing with artificial intelligence. So we will never know when artificial intelligence simply take over because we won't know. Yeah, because very few of us live in reality. We feel all of us live in reality. I think most of us live in La La Land. So we won't even know when the thing hits us.
So what is this book, I think, is the need of the hour. Someone simplifying what Sanatan Dharma or Dharma is. Because it's not that it hasn't been talked about. Different teachers, gurus over the ages have talked about it. Unfortunately, the language of this age, the younger mind, I think needs a new language.
Yes.
And that is why I think this is a very important book. This is why I called it one of the most important books.
In that sense, I would then agree with you.
Right, because it's not something original. This is a
yes, yes.
But you have simplified it and tried to bring it to a language of a 15-year-old, an adolescent, who can perhaps start probing, questioning on his own.
And develop that possibility thinking.
Right. Or impossibility thinking.
Oh, that's the next stage. Yes, but yes, impossibility thinking or possibility thinking. Because most of the teachers of the Dharma, most of the Dharmacharyas and gurus have spoken about all this, but they have spoken about it in the traditional language of religion. Right. And the moment you speak in the traditional language of religion, you're already bracketing it with religion. That's why people say Sanatan Dharma, Hindu Dharma, and then again the same confusion. So the language that you employ to speak makes it religious. And we have to do something about that. We have to extract Sanatan Dharma and its truths from the religious vocabulary, from the religious lexicon, completely. Leave religion aside totally. Though I've used the word God a few times, especially when I'm coaching, but I'm very averse to using even the word God, because God is another construct of the human mind. And again, only a mature adult mind can accept that. You tell that to a childish mind and, oh, you have trouble in your hands. Because how can you do away with God? But God is just a concept.
Definitely the way we live it, we see God as a concept. We don't see God as a reality, would you say?
But you can't. How do you see God as reality?
When I use the word God, I'm using God as Dharma.
What? So, but the moment you use God, you've already brought Dharma back into religion.
Right.
Because God is an outdated word. So people say, okay, what would you call God in Sanskrit? Ishvara. Oh, that's also God. No, it isn't. The problem is you don't go into the language, the etymology of every word. If you don't, I mean, and I don't care about Sanskrit. If I want to say the same thing in Latin or Greek, I'll do that as long as we go to the etymology of it. Let's understand the word itself. What does the word mean? So the moment you analyze the word Ishvara, you will immediately realize it's nothing to do with God whatsoever. Dharma has nothing to do with religion whatsoever. And all the words that most Hindus use today to describe their own religion have nothing to do with religion. Oh, Upar wala means what? Heaven's sake.
Because we have taken a vocabulary that does not belong.
And it's going on. And Bhagwan, what is Bhagwan? Most people haven't been able to explain Bhagwan. And they are bound to use the word God again to explain Bhagwan. Oh, Bhagwan is God, you know. What is God? I don't know. What is Bhagwan? But there is a science behind it. Every single word that Sanatan Dharma uses is science. Bhagavana. You just break it up and you will see they're talking about cosmos, material cosmos. Bhumi. Gagan. Va, Vayu. Anal. Na, Neer. You're talking about the 5 elements. Where is God in this? This is physics. This is science. Ishvara, Isha, divine. What is divine? Divine is not God. Divine is that in which the human completes itself. The divine is the source and the culmination of the human. It is from the divine we come, and it is to the divine we return in full consciousness. The true meaning of individuality is when the human becomes the individualized divine. When the final justification of Nama Rupa in this universe is when every Nama Rupa becomes fully consciously divine. Ishvara, that is the concept. Where is God in this? Where is religion in this? So this is what we have to bring to the one. That's what I've attempted to do with this book, that at least let's start thinking differently.
It is. I think it's that is why, to me, it is a valiant attempt, and I hope you will keep writing more such books, because to me it was not so much the knowledge contained in the book. To me, it was how you start breaking things down. Uh, what we consider as rigid ideations
Right.
or forms, you have tried to break it down. For example, one beautiful explanation or discussion you have in this book is about Ganesha. The symbol of Ganesha, uh, whom we treat more perfunctorily. Oh, let's worship Ganesha to start something new, and we'll chant some mantras. But what does Ganesha really mean?
Yes, what does Ganesha really mean? What does mantra really mean?
What does mantra really
What really is chanting?
Right.
I have asked this of so many Hindus. Trust me, I haven't come across people who understand what these things are. Chanting. No, that's not chanting. Mantra. Oh, this is a sentence that the Guru gives, or and then I go on. That is not mantra. And of course, that is not Ganesha. So, yes, I mean, as I discovered while writing this book, that one can write a book on each of these concepts, and you'll have an encyclopedia dharmika before you know it.
Encyclopedia Dharmika. I think that's something that you need to write on.
We need to write.
We need
It's
to
not a
write
one
on.
person's job.
Well, I think if more and more people start questioning, I think the first thing that we need to do is start questioning. We haven't questioned ourselves
We haven't questioned
deeply
it.
enough.
Yes.
We haven't probed it. And every symbol, starting from the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Gita, and you've dedicated a whole chapter to the Gita and its significance.
The whole section, actually.
Whole section on the Gita. And to me, it's one of the most elegant descriptions of the dharma. You bring it out from the Gita, which means turning all your activity, concentrating it to the divine, and that is the highest, the secret of the Gita.
Yes.
But it's a very interesting way you have approached the Gita too, where you don't build it up to a high point. You say at every level he is bringing it out. You cannot separate with what is called the Uttamam Rahasyam from the beginnings. So it is, and at every point that truth is it's a composite whole. That's how
it's a composite whole. Yes, that's right.
So by that understanding, there are not more than 2 Hindus in India, I suppose, and that's you and I.
I hope that's not being telecast.
But that was a joke.
Yes.
I mean, how many people are able to question, and I'm facetiously speaking, but how many Christians are there? As Nietzsche said, there was only one Christian who was Christ, right? If I remember correctly.
And more interestingly, it said that the first and the last Christian on earth
was Christ.
Yes.
Right. So how can we go, maybe we don't have to go back to Dharma, but how can we explore that? And do you think by exploring it, things will change? Because at the surface, things are really bad, as you have pointed out yourself.
When I wrote this book as Sanatan Dharma, as the source of what we call the Hindu Dharma.
Right.
I can write the same book, Sanatan Dharma, as the source of Christianity,
Right.
as the source of the Sikh religion, as the source of any religion that you give. If you go deep enough into the religion, you will find the same dharma. And that's what I've written clearly in this book. There is no dharma on this planet which will not finally yield the same dharma if you go deep enough and without a religious vocabulary or bias. That, again, the mature adult mind.
So let me ask you this question. Will a religion allow you to do that?
A religion will, but the guardians of religion will not. Because unfortunately, most guardians of religion, including our Hindu religion, are political more than spiritual. And I have hardly found any spiritual religious guardian or leader. All of them I've come across, and I've read about them and interacted with them. Some of them I have are political. Religion has become politics. It's all about numbers and how many
Totally.
followers. Religion was never about followers and numbers. Religion is never about followers. The only thing you follow is truth itself. We're all disciples of truth. Doesn't matter what language you use, what religion you claim for yourself. We are disciples of truth.
But the true disciples are not in politics by the very nature of things.
No,
In fact, they're the quietest,
yes,
meekest, humblest people who don't even bother to tell anyone that they are on a path towards the truth or discovery of the truth. They are extremely quiet about it. So, can politics change? How can politics change? Or do we have to wait for an avatar to come down? And you have talked about that story,
So
the avatar
interesting.
that we are waiting for.
Let's come back to this question.
Yes.
So, do we have to wait for the avatar? What is the avatar? Who's the avatar?
Yeah, that is the story that you have talked about. When we start treating each other as an avatar, as you said, that's when things will change.
Yeah. So everyone participates consciously in this avatarhood. Well, that's a more dramatic way of saying that everyone realizes his own truth. The only way we can bring about a global change is by what I call widespread spirituality, and immersive spirituality. Spirituality that inundates the human consciousness. It has to spread. Dharma has to spread. And dharma has to spread as dharma. It's the only way it can spread. It cannot spread as religion. The religions are already, if you look carefully at it, you might agree with me that religions are dying out already. And I did, because of this book, I did a couple of weeks research on status of religions globally. And there's a lot of research available on the net where they actually have statistics of how people are leaving their religions, including Islam. People are leaving religions. Christianity, of course, is very pronounced. The number of Christians who are just leaving the religions, or religions just becoming redundant to them. They don't need it anymore. Same is happening in Islam. A whole lot of ex-Islams who have written blogs and they have websites, which I went through and I was fascinated. I didn't know all these existed.
A lot of rejection of the theological constructs.
Yes, it's happening everywhere.
The exoteric outer religion.
Except the fundamentalists. Only the fundamentalists don't do that, because that's their very existence. But those who are not fundamentalists, those who are rational, are either rationalizing their religions or leaving their religion.
Yeah, if you're seriously questioning the religion, at least the external form, you cannot.
You cannot. And I see it another 100 years, another 100 also in today's day and age is a very long time. With technology, AI, space exploration, nanotechnology, genetic engineering, with all these things advancing at the pace they are, I think 50 years is what I would give religion. It won't survive anymore. So what happens to us then? 50 years, 100 years these are numbers. Maybe earlier, maybe later. Definitely not later than the singularity, this technological singularity. So what happens to us after that? Without religion, there are only two ways. Either we become completely technological, then singularity really happens. And then we start talking about uploading our consciousness onto the computers and living forever, and transhumanism.
Or putting chips in our head.
Chips in our head. And amazingly, some of the movies that I also watch a lot of movies on these themes, because I feel before a reality happens, and historically this is a fact, before a reality happens globally, people start reflecting it in literature and cinema.
Yes.
So nowadays, it's not so much literature at this point in time. It's much more in cinema, and that too, television and cinema, OTT and all. So I have seen a whole lot of these movies and series where it's startling the way they, what was science fiction just 3 years ago.
Right.
Things happening right now.
That's correct.
Each single thing is happening right now. So once this happens, what happens to the human being? What happens to you and me? Religion will fall off sooner or later.
And what happens to our future generations?
What
How will
happens to
they?
future generations? Yes.
Right in our lifetime, things have changed drastically. When we were growing up,
yes,
we had books, we had libraries,
yes.
We had discourse. There is no discourse now.
There's no discourse.
People cannot talk to each other, whether it's smartphones, whether it's reality shows, the social discourse, cultural, religious discourse, political discourse doesn't exist.
I think now you have to talk to each other in 180 letters or something, 180 characters.
240 now, they've increased
240, okay, whatever.
But have you noticed in the shows where you are supposed to have discussions, they don't discuss.
They don't discuss.
Each person voices his own opinion, whatever is his biases, his agenda is, or her agenda. But no one is listening. There is no listening in the discourse. And it cannot sustain itself.
No discourse, no debate.
No debate. So it seems like the mind is shriveling. It's getting smaller and smaller. So dharma is the need of the hour.
Yes. So when religion finally falls off, and it's not if religion falls off, it's when religion falls off, matter of time. So when religion finally falls off, what will remain with us? One is dharma, which very few will be able to access because it's the invisible and the subtle, or the machine, the computer, AI, AGI, ASI, whatever we call it, and that's so much easier. A few years ago, my students, when I was still working with children, my students would not do any actual research. They would go on the internet and do their research. Then they would put it all together and write. Today, even as we speak, I know of young people I know personally who don't even go to the internet for research. Now it's ChatGPT, because it gives you at least 10 times better than any search engine can give you, and at a much faster.
But it can also hallucinate.
Yeah, but the hallucination of AI will not affect most of us for a long time to come, and that kind of hallucination is very different. But what I know a lot of people are doing is nowadays, if I want to do research, I just put in what I want my research,
and it will do it for you.
ChatGPT does it all for me, and in a very good language, very coherent, very well explained, with examples, with point counterpoint discussions. All that is there.
Yes.
So I can see it. If I was still a teacher, I'm still working with children, I would be able to say this confidently, that within another year to 2 years, nobody would think. A few years ago, you remember that. I remember that when we were younger, knew almost all telephone numbers by heart. It was in our
Yes.
memory. Today, probably except for my number and one or two other numbers, I don't know any other number because it's all on the phone. So who wants to remember? I just, I see so many people around me who can't get to a location without the map. They don't remember anymore. So now ChatGPT, extrapolate by another 2 years. Who wants to think?
Right.
ChatGPT is doing your thinking for you. It's comparing things, it's contextualizing, it's
Right.
correlating different fields and information. It's doing everything for you. So you don't want to think. So what are we going to do? If Dharma does not come center stage, then you know what we'll be doing? We'll be gaming. We'll be having VR experiences, which, given today's humanity, would all be overtly or covertly sexual and political. The two things that completely grip the human mind, politics and sex. And that's what's going to really take over all imagination. So we'll be gaming and we'll be wasting our time with machines. There's no need to think and there's no need to be conscious. And if Dharma doesn't come center stage, this is how singularity is going to happen.
Let's also talk about the role of Dharma, or the role of India in Dharma, because most of Dharma is associated with this land of India. How do you see Dharma in India vis-a-vis the world, across the globe? And how Indic will it be, or how global will it be?
So again, I personally feel, for various reasons, that India will be able to bring the Dharma to the world. Historical reasons, cultural, psychological reasons. That's perhaps still the only country that is maintaining its spiritual culture, spiritual understanding, spiritual roots is India. I've spent, you live in the United States. I've spent considerable time in the United States with you, traveling the country. I've spent considerable time in Europe. So everywhere that I've spoken to, and being my almost part of my work, I've spoken to thinkers, to professors, to professionals. I don't find rootedness in spirituality. I didn't find it in too many places, except for, again, the priests. And very interesting, I would talk to the priests, the church heads in both Europe and US. And I remember I did this for a very long time in Germany when I used to go and stay there for months at end. So that's how I would spend my time. And they would talk religion only in the church. The moment they would get out of the church, they would sit with me with beer and all. And like people, they would discuss science, they would discuss business, they would discuss politics. And when I would bring them back to discussing their religion, they would only discuss what they would probably be delivering as sermons. This is what we have to do, this is what we have to do. Then I would ask them fundamental questions, theological questions. How do you explain this? How do you... And I would discover, to my dismay, that hardly anyone has delved that deep into their own theology. They haven't. But I have done that in India. I've sat in Rishikesh and I've done that with people who are just, who don't have any degrees, who are not church leaders or not temple priests. And they can actually engage you with a discussion on their religion. I'm not saying they will give you the dharmic interpretation of it, but at least they understand enough of their religion for it to make sense to them. So that is the rootedness that I'm talking about. But India too we won't be able to lead the world to dharma unless we first understand what the dharma is. Now, in India, though there is this widespread awakening, reawakening to dharma, there is a resurgence of dharma. I know it, you know it, we've seen it. Even as we speak, we are seeing it happen. But it's a resurgence of the spiritual dharma. The religious dharma, not spiritual dharma, the religious dharma. Now, that resurgence of the religious dharma we'll have to bring you to the spiritual dharma. And then from the spiritual dharma, we have to go to the dharma which is almost like as universal and as timeless and universal as physics. The very nature of the universe can be explained through dharma and is an embodiment of dharma. So one day should come, this is my dream, that Sanatan Dharma will be exactly like physics. We'll be talking about the truths of Sanatan Dharma as we talk about gravity.
But understand there are not too many people in the world who truly understand physics
or gravity.
or gravity.
Yes. So some study will be needed. Because if you don't do this study, again, this is not something that you can accept on faith. Because if the moment you do that, it will revert to religion before you know it. So there has to be some study, serious study of the subject. So when I say it's as objective as physics, and you should be able to talk of dharma and the truths of dharma as you talk about physics and the laws of physics. I mean that. When I say that, I mean it very much, but I mean it only with the condition that you do a serious study of it. You have to intellectually understand the dharma and appreciate the dharma for what it is. Only then will you be able to speak of it as you do, as you speak of physics.
So
dharma will not be something that you take on to say that how you can be good human beings on earth.
right.
Or what will happen to you after you die. Not things like that. But how do you explain the universe? Like physics, how do you explain the universe?
Right.
So how do you explain human life? How do you explain existence? How do you explain life and death?
So if India is the place where there is a rootedness in dharma, how is India going to find it? Because right now, at least from what I can see, there's a battle going on, so-called dharmic battle, which is really on the surface. And perhaps even, you know, uh, somewhat kind of detracts us from the true spirituality that you're talking about. You have the rightist and the leftist approaches, but no one is talking about a true dharmic approach in our life, that shift in our life. When we conflate dharma with the external rituals or creating more temples uh, or learning certain shastras. And perhaps one can say it's just a battle of forces, that it's something that's going to play out. But will it? There has to be a third way or some kind of a synthesis that has to emerge out of this battle.
Yes. So once again, a serious study of the dharma.
But where? There's no education institution.
No, there isn't. I have, in fact, I've always felt, and with each passing day, I'm feeling it with more urgency, that there is a need for a dharma university in this country more than any other kind of university. I mean, people nowadays are feeling this tremendous need for universities that only teach you AI,
right,
and VR and AR and all that stuff, which may be important in its own sphere. But I feel the need of the hour is to have at least one university that teaches dharma not in this religion sense, not in the religious way, but dharma as physics of the soul, dharma as physics of the future, dharma as the physics that explains everything.
but wasn't that tried by Sri J. Krishnamurti with his Rishi Valley schools, or even the mother had attempted free progress schools?
Uh, well, no, not really, because I can talk of mother first. The school in Pondicherry was meant to prepare the student for understanding the higher realities, prepare the mind and heart for a higher, a new consciousness. The whole intention of the school that we call the Free Progress School in Pondicherry was to prepare the student, prepare the child for the next evolution. So not really dharma, not really teaching dharma, but much more of teaching how to learn, of opening up yourself and the opening the psychic and training the mind, training the vital and all that. Krishnamurti, I have worked a lot with his schools when I was working with children, and there too, what he has done beautifully while he was physically there, what he's done beautifully was to bring in this, I call it free inquiry, freeing the mind to inquire about life. That is the singular contribution of Krishnamurti schools and what Krishnamurti himself could do in the schools. That was amazing what he did. But beyond that, no. But beyond that, again, the schools were teaching the ICSE syllabus. And that spirit of inquiry was not brought into their studies.
Right.
So they studied physics as textbook physics.
Right.
That spirit of inquiry was not brought into science. Otherwise, we would have had scientists.
Right.
Instead
would
of
have
students of science.
Absolutely. You've talked about Swami Vivekananda and Sanatan Dharma. And in your own notes, your preface, you've mentioned what a decisive influence he was in your life. How do you see, because again, if you really see it, he was a very traditional, in many ways, leader, spiritual leader of India, although he was very far ahead of his times. And I see that you have tried to take the essence of him and brought it out in your own way. And so you did with Sri Aurobindo too. How do you see their influence on the development of Dharma in India?
So Vivekananda talked about the Dharma at a time when Dharma had receded. And in his own words, the Hindu was in deep tamas. India was in deep tamas. And for him, it was important to awaken India first, awaken the youth of India, to awaken the Hindu out of his or her tamas, out of their tamas, first into rajasic activity, rajasic energy, and then into sattvic understanding. That was his aim. And he used Vedanta as the instrument to awaken. And that is how he brought Dharma back to India. And in that attempt to the world, he was again responsible for bringing Vedanta to the world, to Dharma to the world. So he brought Dharma to India, he brought Dharma to the world at a time when this nation, our country, needed Dharma the most. So yes, Dharma did come back with its lot of its original force and light through Swamiji, through Vivekananda. And the other thing is the content of what he was writing and speaking was not so religious at all. You said he was traditional. Yes, he was. He was a traditional monk, but his thinking was not traditional at all. His thinking was very progressive. Yes. And though he did use some of the traditional vocabulary of the Dharma, but he took Dharma beyond its traditional vocabulary. He modernized it, and modernized, we're talking about the 1800s, so and early 1900s. So he modernized it for that time, in that context, and he could liberate the Dharma from its Hindu religion trappings. A lot of it, he did that, and a lot of the truly traditional swamis to date haven't accepted him. No, so he was almost like the avant-garde of the new Dharma. And he did that splendidly. And Sri Aurobindo, he completed what Vivekananda began in more ways than one, as you would know. And Sri Aurobindo, of course, completely transcends the traditional vocabulary and thought. Totally. I mean, when he also brings dharma uh, to the center stage. I mean, his whole life and his whole work is dharma. But then, if you look at his dharma, it's no longer religion at all. There's very little of the Hindu religion in his works. It's dharma taken to the next order. It's dharma raised to the power of the supermind. So, and the moment he starts talking about supermind, it's no longer religion at all. Then it's a science. It's an evolutionary science. Then it's all evolution, because Sri Aurobindo's work, as soon as you cross over the first few stages of his work in his life, is no longer traditional religion or traditional yoga. Then it becomes evolution, evolutionary yoga. And evolutionary yoga, so far, India and Indians have not known. Still, even today as we speak, not too many Indians even understand evolution and evolutionary yoga to appreciate it. They're still thinking in terms of the old yogas, the old religions. So the old consciousness is still so strong that we are still unable to really accept Sri Aurobindo's work, because Sri Aurobindo's work, from the word go, demands the subtle intelligence, the sukshma buddhi. Without that, you cannot happen. And not just the sukshma buddhi, even to take the first necessary step in Sri Aurobindo's work, Sri Aurobindo's yoga, you have to be awakened in your soul, in your psychic, So you need to somehow cross the threshold of the dharma, cross the threshold of the visible and the tangible to the invisible and the subtle, to even begin to understand his works, Sri Aurobindo's works. And yet the dharma that I see, the dharma of the future, the dharma that I write about, is Sri Aurobindo and Vivekananda.
I certainly appreciate their time today. And this is Sanatan Dharma, The Quest for Truth, written by Partho, published by BluOne Inc. I think every youngster who wants to study India, Indology, spirituality, even philosophy, even Indian history, or even, let's say, human history, must read this book, because this is an elegant introduction, a primer, as it were, to what the ancient Indic darshana was, what Bharatiya darshan, where darshan implies a way of seeing, or rather seeing itself. And that is also beautifully brought out in this book. The meaning of dharma, the meaning of uh, simple terms that we use uh, without understanding their meaning, the concepts of yajna, the concept of karma, and understanding what the Gita is, or what the Upanishads are, and what is humanity's future, and how each of us can directly participate in creating our dharmic revelation, living the dharma that we truly belong to. And in a way, dharma is a word that has so many meanings, but as it reveals ourselves to us, or it reveals itself to us, I think this is a splendid and beautiful journey. And I hope and pray that every human being is blessed with that journey. This quest for truth, in my opinion, and maybe I'm a little biased, the most important book that any youngster, any college going student, even after all these years of studying, I have found a gold mine of information that I did not have. And the language is simple, lucid. It is not burdened with terms or abstractions, but this is something that is lived personally, with a touch that is, even though there's an impersonality you bring, but this is entirely you. And we have a little joke here that whenever Partho Dada writes a book, he says, "This is what Vedanta says." Vedanta doesn't say anything like this. This is what he says it. And that is Vedanta. And that is the beauty of the book. I think each of you should dwell on it and hopefully take it further in your own life. And that would be the living Vedanta and living Dharma of the globe, of India, of Bharata. And hopefully that will transform our lives and give us a new singularity that won't be technological, but that will be the singularity of our spirit and of our truth. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you so much.